So thank you to her and all of her, and her team. Yeah.
Thanks for having me, John. Thank you for saying that. My wife is an absolute rock star. She's living apart from our 19-month-old son, Axel, and we were at my parents' house in Long Island, and she's in Manhattan up until last week treating patients. But I'm very happy to report to all that are listening that her hospital's patient population of COVID patients has shrunk beyond her needs. So just really, really happy.
That's great. Good. I'm happy to hear that. All right. So Jordan, welcome. I'm glad you are here today because I want to talk to you about retail. You're the CEO of Mixology, and you're in New York. You got retail. Your business has been affected by COVID, and I think you have a deep perspective on just the current state of affairs and as we move out of this. So kind of give us a little flavor of what is going on from your eyes being in the retail space.
Sure. So we have a family business, 10 stores and an e-commerce website headquartered on Long Island, New York, but all over the New York City metropolitan area. And, just like everybody else around the world, on the 17th, we were forced to shut down, close all of our stores.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate to have made a big investment in our technology stack, and all of our stores are really mini warehouses for our e-commerce business. It's very, very unique in the world, also very unique for a small family business to have that. So we very, very quickly pivoted our remaining team members, which was we had about 200 employees. Now we have 170 furloughed and 30 working. We pivoted them to like an omni-channel sales force where they're essentially selling on our website using our technology, and pretty much across the board had a lot of success with that.
Yeah,
our website was up 250%, even though total company revenues are down 80%. We had some glimmer of hope to hold on to. A lot of retailers just had to shut down. They didn't have a web business, and they didn't have that technology in place, and my heart was breaking for them. I spoke to a lot of friends that are in the business, and they just didn't know what to do. They're just at home, their employees are at home, and they had no mechanism to even get this process started. So, my commentary on where the retail business is going is I don't see it going back to the way it was by any stretch of the imagination, at least not for 12 to 18 months. I think that it's going to be highly focused on online selling. I think that the stores are going to be places of highly customizable service. So whether that's appointments, styling, pick up in store, a lot of the buzzwords that you're hearing online. The only thing is I took them from buzzwords. We're actually implementing a lot of these things. And I'm not sure which ones are going to hit, but we've spent a lot of time on getting our appointment system up and running and what the new reality of in-store looks like. I mean, the fact is, whether you're a restaurant or a retail business, if you have to social distance and your traffic goes down by 50% or even 25%, you're not going to be able to keep a store going much longer. So, the advice that I've been giving to a lot of smaller retailers than myself, and even some bigger ones, is, brick and mortar should also be looked at as a real opportunity to not only service, but hold inventory as locations and distribution points for e-commerce.
Yeah.
And, a big part of my business is omni-channel already. So that's where everything's going. I mean, the ones that don't adapt are going to have a very hard time making it.
So let's talk about that. As far as how I want to talk about adaptability, but I also want to talk about how much space do retailers need moving forward? I remember about 22 years ago, I was on a business trip in Paris. And I went into a store, and it was a pretty small store, and they only had a couple things hanging. They had a bunch of stuff, and no sizes, you just picked out, and then they went into the back and they brought everything out. Small store. And so what does the footprint look like of retail moving forward?
It's a very interesting question. We have boutiques, average is about 1,700 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Our best stores are around 2,000 square feet. And I think that, for the fashion retail business, which I'm in, especially at my price point, I think what you're describing is maybe a higher price point. I get, I think it all goes going to go back to that price point. But for us, using our stores as distribution points, every time we've opened a store historically, it opens up a new market for our e-commerce territory.
Yeah.
So the best customers are omni-channel customers, one that shop online and in store. They're far more valuable than people that just find us online. We sell in all 50 states, but somebody who's never visited the store and doesn't have that trust and rapport built up with our team, they're just not as big. So as far as sizing goes, I think that a little bit bigger store, actually, if you can afford it, is going to lend itself better to a teeny tiny little store where you're shoved in. When I was early days of building Mixology, I had the opportunity to talk to a very famous CFO, and he gave me the old Wayne Gretzky advice. You need to build your business to where the puck is going, not to where it was. And so as I think about how I'm going to reopen these stores, some of my smaller stores are probably going to be the last to reopen. Mm-hmm. And my bigger footprint stores where I can be a little bit more flexible with space for the customer are the ones we're really focusing on.
For social distancing, et cetera.
Yeah.
Talk to me about technology, because you guys were early adapters to technology, and that is helping you now. I think a lot of companies, whether they're in the retail space or any space, have found themselves really realizing they're in 2005 or before then when it comes to technology. So what's the new base of technology for not only retail but just businesses in general from your perspective?
It's an excellent question. Every time that you're a family business or a small business going up against funded and venture-backed businesses, they get these unlimited budgets to go out and really build the technology the way that they want, perfect their mousetraps before they even generate revenue. All the small businessmen listening here will know that you're feeding your family and paying rent and simultaneously investing in your business at the same time. Technology has been very much democratized by companies like Shopify and the 2,000 apps that integrate there. The way to build a technology stack for small retail businesses and small businesses generally, even in my real estate business, we were following this model too. You want to have as many integrated systems as possible. So that's known as a technology stack. I always like to explain it to people that don't understand that. It's like, just think about your iPhone. Everybody's iPhone is different depending on the apps that you download. Businesses run very much the same way. When I started Mixology, we had 2 business applications, QuickBooks and our retail ERP. And with the advent of the internet and e-commerce, we had kept adding on different business applications left and right. Today, we have over 30 different business applications that run the business, and they're all tied together in a network of what are called APIs. And those APIs flow information back and forth. So it's slightly technical, but it really isn't that technical for business leaders that haven't yet adopted this. I would say I've spoken to at least 10 business owners of smaller than me, single store operators that, whether it was in the men's fashion suit business or the jewelry business, they had these 30, 40-year-old family businesses and never went online. And now they're all opening Shopify websites. And so they're starting to understand the nuances of how important this is going to be going forward. So just in a quick summary of that, it's, understanding your technology stack and business applications and, how they tie together loosely and using, an API framework.
Yeah. I think that's so critical, and I think we're going to see more companies in every industry realizing that they need the partners, the mentors, everything to kind of relook at their business and ramp them up. Because I think people are just going to be thinking differently about pandemic is a thing, and people are going to move and do business differently.
Yeah.
I'll ask you a question. Shopping online. I'd like to know a little bit. What is shopping online? How is it different today versus what it was 7 weeks ago because of the pandemic? Are people ordering? It sounds like sales are down, but are people browsing more, with anticipation that they'll buy later? What's the mindset today?
Yeah, it's very regional. New York, which is our primary region, is much faster. We're seeing faster conversions around the country. In different areas, we're seeing still a little bit of that slow process. New York, which was so shut down, truly almost like a war zone, not outside, but kept inside. The shopping habits for digital have just been incredible. I mean, way, way, way better. Our like I said, our web business is up 250%.
Yeah.
That's traffic, conversions, everything. Our total company revenue is still down 80%, like I said, but if it's any indication of what's to come, I think that the web is going to be the first point before anybody even comes into your store. If they're coming to your store, they basically know what they want to get. And if your inventories aren't synced, it's going to be very, very, very hard to, service them the way that they're used to being serviced. You go to Amazon, you go to some of these biggest and best companies, the customers want to know that what they find online is in the store. Yeah. Around the country, in Texas and Florida, where things opened up, shopping habits, they didn't change all that much, a little bit. What we are seeing is a lot of New York customers popping up all over the country. Salt Lake City, Massachusetts in the Berkshires, down in Florida, North Carolina. So customers that we recognize from our stores, they've gone out. Yeah.
It's interesting when you're talking about, by appointment only and, they go to the website, make sure something's there, they want it. I think we're going to see an increase in customer experience and customer service expectations because now, curbside is, you look back and you think, wow, why haven't more companies been doing curbside forever? You don't have to park, people just rent it out to your car. Yeah. And so where's the customer experience of tomorrow going to be post-COVID? Can you order things and have, is curbside going to be a new standard, appointment only, even when things are open so people can get a little bit more of a custom feel? It seems like it's not only for the uber rich anymore, right? Curbside, appointment only, it's really for the masses.
Absolutely. This is a very, very tough nut to crack for multi-location, multi-variant vendors like myself. Yeah. Super easy if you're making a salad. Every single chopped and sweet green has the same 25 ingredients, and they easily show it online. When you have a clothing store with thousands of SKUs, every single location is different. And so that web of complexity becomes very difficult for curbside pickup. Customers want to order it, and if they want to pick it up, they want to pick it up in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how unbelievably challenging that is to solve. I bet. As a small business person. We built custom order routing management, and it's loosely held together. We have about 85% accuracy. Before COVID, we had about 98% accuracy on fulfillment. So the extra taxing on this team that I have and on our systems is very, very hard. And I talk to retail technologists almost every day, and a lot of smart people are trying to figure this out. They call it buy online, pick up in store, or buy online, pick up curbside.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes. I mean, it can really, everybody's looking to find more time in their day, and so when, if you can save 20 minutes at 3 different pickups and save yourself an hour.
Yeah. And so many small businesses have become so crafty, especially in the food service and liquor. There's a liquor store by where my parents live out on Long Island, and you call your order in, you drive up, it's waiting for you, you pop the trunk, they put it in, no touching, totally digital, and that's a tiny little family liquor store. There's a Thai food restaurant, and they turn their side entrance into a delivery like McDonald's. Yeah. And every time I go visit them, I say, how's business? They can't get enough people. They can't get enough ingredients. I mean, it's limited menus, but people are innovating at an incredibly high rate. If there's any sense of positivity, it's the rate of innovation under these conditions is just mind-blowing, what people are doing. My small company has blown me away by how fast people who were resistant to adapting new technologies are picking things up in days. It used to take years. Quick story of that is we rolled out Salesforce at my company. So we have a really, really high-end clienting tool that I built inside of Salesforce. And
during COVID or before COVID?
Pre-COVID, it's going back 3 years. It took me a year and a half to launch it. Every week I had 2 girls on the road going trainings, individual store managers and senior sellers. I had to pay for the gas. I had to pay for the lunch. I had to pay for 2 highly skilled employees to go train other employees. It was a very expensive project. On March 18th, I rolled out a new Salesforce program that I was budgeting. That I thought it was going to take me a year when I was building it.
Yeah.
It took 1 day to get whole company buy-in. I mean, you can't even measure how impactful that is on the business.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think
there's a lot of good coming from this.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think people are realizing how resourceful they are. I've been in companies too. Salesforce can take years to implement. It's very, people have a hard time adapting to it. And I think we saw this because this happened with such force. In a week or two, people had to adapt.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit more about innovation because I think innovation is, I agree with you. We're seeing it, every day people are innovating new ideas and we needed something. I mean, I'm not saying we needed COVID, of course, this is horrible, but, everybody is being more innovative. Studies show that by 2030, 85% of the jobs that exist do not exist today. And by 2025, 75% of the global workforce will be millennials. And so this decade was already poised for extreme innovation. And I think COVID really is going to accelerate that in a major way.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. There is a silver lining to this for sure. Just before we get into innovation, I spent the last 9 weeks around the dinner table with my siblings. I mean, the last time that I had 9 weeks of dinner in a row with my family, and I honestly don't know if it was ever really. So there are silver linings, a lot of positivity. The innovation is incredible. We've moved my business so far ahead. We need a little bit of good luck and some cooperation from vendors and landlords, and the people are out there getting ready, waiting to get paid.
Right.
We need the customers to come back. We need our leaders to make good decisions so that we can open up our businesses. And we need them to inspire confidence so people feel comfortable to come back into the stores.
Yeah.
But let's just say all those things happen, and I think that they will. If you take Mixology as just a little cross-section of the 30 million small businesses in our country, we are light years ahead of where we were before COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, on every day at 11 a.m.
And it's only been, and you're talking 2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
And light years ahead. Every morning, Monday through Saturday at 11 a.m., I've been hosting an all-hands Zoom call with every single senior staff member and employee. And everybody's there, ready to learn, notepad in hand, ready to get the day going. In a fashion, that's typical on Wall Street. One of my best friends who's a bond trader, they have a 7:30 a.m. every single meeting for his whole career, and they set the daily agenda. In a fashion business where you have disparate stores and everyone's on a different calendar and you have people with varying days off, it's very hard to get everybody together like that. But because everybody rallied, we created a whole new way of doing things. And that can't be understated.
Yeah.
This one Zoom call is so powerful for setting the daily message and communicating directly to so many people. It's better than an email. It's better than a conference call. I see everyone's faces the way I see your face now. And that one small process, I think, is going to revolutionize our business.
How long is the call?
It's usually between 30 minutes and an hour, depending on what day. On Saturdays, I like to keep it quicker.
Yeah.
On Mondays, I make it a little bit longer. Midweek, it throttles depending on the message that we have to go at.
And you do it 7 days a week or how many days a week?
Monday through Saturday. So Sundays, no meeting on Sunday. 6
days a week. That's great. I mean, talk about the productivity of and inspiration. I think a lot of times leaders discount their level of ability to lead and inspire people. And I think right now, as we sit here on March 14th, one of the reasons I love what you're doing so much, especially on a daily basis, because
By the way, May 14th.
What did I say?
March.
Oh, it's so funny. I know it's May 14th. And tomorrow's my birthday, so I for sure know May 14th.
Happy birthday.
But I was telling my wife this morning, I feel like it's still March. It's weird that 2 months. So yeah, so thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
But right now, with it being May 14th, I think there's fatigue setting in, right? Just fatigue from not from freedoms being taken away and things of that nature. So leaders need to inspire on a daily basis like you're doing. So I applaud it. I think it's great. And even if employees, say, oh, they're not in the mood or this, they need it. Sometimes they just don't know they really need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, some days has been tears. Some days have been all laughs.
Yeah.
Some days, it has run the gamut truly. Some days people they're at each other's throats. It's almost like a little game of Survivor sometimes.
Yeah.
And you have to break those habits and get everybody back on board. One of the things I keep telling them is this is not an individual effort. You might be the best performer in the company, but try lifting up the worst performer.
Correct.
Make someone who hasn't had the success selling or adapting to this new reality. If you can lift them up, then we've got a great company.
Yeah.
You could have my number one seller in the company, my number two seller in the company. We're not going to have a company if the number 10, 15, and 20 seller doesn't pick it up. So those are the kind of things that we work on daily.
I love that. Right. Because what we're going through is really difficult. It takes a lot of energy to get through the week. And I don't think any of us really understand what we're going through until we're through it. And then we look back and say, oh my, how did we do that?
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody is just rising to the occasion. I want to talk a little bit more about people because I think, and as I coach people, one of the things I see is people are so important. They're the most important asset.
Yeah.
And I think that is highlighted now as we're all working remotely. And so just talk about how you're getting your people through this. I mean, I know your calls, but like, what else are you doing to get them through this on a day-to-day basis?
I would say the number one thing is being as open and honest as I can. I never try to hide information, even though sometimes it's very tempting. Good, bad, or indifferent. I try to deliver it as candid as possible. And most importantly, explain why, through whatever lens that I can. I think that when you make decisions and you don't communicate it effectively, people don't understand why they're doing things. And so I try to give them the information the best way that I can. And sometimes this takes days. I have to keep repeating it over and over and over again, so much so that the people that got it immediately, they don't want to hear it any longer. But the people that it takes a little bit longer to understand what's going on, you need to keep repeating your message.
Yeah.
One of those messages, just as an example of what we're discussing right now, is keeping a consistent message to our customers. We had 30 sellers left, 30 people working in our business, and every single person wanted to have a different message. This one's promoting a sale. This one's promoting. So keeping a consistent message about what we're trying to do as a company was so important in the early days. Our first message was about supporting small business, appealing to people to help us in their time of need. And then we pivoted that message towards optimism. And then we pivoted. And then once people woke up and they were ready to start buying and shopping again, it was pivoting towards making them happy and delivering them, what we always do, which is fashion and comfort and comfy clothes. Obviously, they're not putting on a dress to go to their graduation parties. They're missing their graduation parties. So keeping that message consistent was so vital.
One of the very first people I interviewed on this podcast was Howard Behar, who was the former president of Starbucks.
Yeah.
And he wrote a book called "It's Not About the Coffee." And in the book, I was talking about a chapter that he wrote where he had to make a really tough announcement to about, I think it was 1,500 people, and about some layoffs. And he accidentally left a piece of paper somewhere, and it got out. And so they had a weekend emergency meeting, and they were strategizing on how to, I'm putting some words in his mouth, but how to spin it, right? Like, how do we really what are we going to do? And then his executive assistant said, right, all these people are in a room trying to figure out what to do. The executive assistant said, why don't you just tell them the truth?
Yeah. No, that's a great summary.
Right. And so that's what he did. So he got up there and he said, hey, listen, this is what happened. This is why we need to make cuts. This is how it got out. He just told them the truth from his heart. And that's how he really ran his business. And he said that everybody was so supportive and it was such an amazing experience. And it just echoes what you're talking about, right? It may not always look or smell great, but people know when you're not telling them the truth. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's key.
And, just another comment building off that is, real strict adherence to your core values. And our core values are never to cut corners, never to do anything gray, shady. We don't pay people off the books. We don't ask them to do gray and shady things. A lot of that happens in small businesses. And so I don't always remember everything I say, but as long as I filter it through the lens of who we are and stand for. By the way, today's my grandmother, who's no longer with us, birthday. And he was the backbone of these core values that we have. And I tell my staff that all the time. I make a million mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, but I always try to filter the decision-making through who we are and what we stand for. And I sleep at night. I never have to worry about something I did 2 or 3 months ago and play the you said this or he said that game. I always tell them, listen, everything that I'm trying to deliver to you is my interpretation of it. But I'm doing the absolute best I can through my moral compass.
Yeah.
It's sometimes that contradicts what you hear on the news. But that we stand behind it as a family. And in a family business, it's our name stamped on it. So it really is important.
And your name is all you have. Yeah. It's interesting because I see a lot of companies right now that have values on the wall, but they haven't been living them. And now they're realizing that they haven't, and it's hard to live them remotely.
Yes.
But those that have been living them, they stay as, like you said, they're more a compass of who they are. And that's in the values of who they are. So kudos to you, Jordan. Kudos to you.
Thank you.
So in our last couple of minutes together, share this with me. What's your biggest lesson that you have personally learned from COVID?
Patience, probably. Dealing with every day. I wake up at 6:30 in the morning. I look at my phone, and it's already a stream of the issues that have to be dealt with for that day. It's constant blocks of phone calls from the time I wake up until the time I go to sleep. And mostly what I do is deal with people. I set the overall strategic vision for the company and put people to task. But most of the problems that I deal with are very human problems. And having patience and empathy with people, I think, is truly one of the keys to success of leading through a crisis and just leading in general. You need to try to understand people and where they're coming from. You always are going to have battling perspectives within the company, multiple factions. They both think they're right. Yeah. And so the only way to cross the finish line is to harmonize all of those different perspectives. And again, it falls back to the core values and enforcing those really, really strongly and believing them and living them. If you're full of shit, no one's going to follow those set of core values. They're just words.
I agree. I think now more than ever, it is so important to lead from your heart, manage from your heart, and make everybody feel important, effective communication, over communicating, and inspiring people and making them feel connected to the purpose and understanding what their purpose is as well. Yeah. So well said, Jordan. I can't thank you enough. Tell everybody.
Thank you, Jon.
Tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
Shopmixology.com is our website. You can always find me there. You can email me. You can call me. I'm on all the media channels, LinkedIn. Business Jiu-Jitsu is my Instagram handle. And
your podcast.
And my podcast, Business Jiu-Jitsu. And a book that I'm writing. I'm writing a new book because I wrote a book last year with my dad called This Is It, which I suggest that you check out and read if you want to know more about this story. And my new book is Business Jiu-Jitsu. And if there's anybody out there in the world of martial arts and business, please reach out to me so that you can be a guest on my podcast and ultimately be a contributor to the book.
I love it. I love it. Jordan, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Let me just say to you and all your listeners, I really, really appreciate everything you do. You're an amazing person, a great guy. I love all your content. Really, really great stuff.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you for everything you do. Keep on innovating and keep on inspiring your people. You're a great role model, and to everybody who's listening and to your team as well. So thank you very much. Thanks.
Talk soon. Bye.